Live from 19 Action News, this is the Bryant and Stratton College Sports Extra.
James throws it down on a foul. Drop a pocket pass. Swish. There's love for it throws to Habadoo. It's love and a touchdown pass to J.R. Smith.
Well, guys are really committed to sacrificing everything for them personally, for the better of the team. When you can do that and all 15 guys are on the same page, and it doesn't matter what you're doing individually, it's all about the team making the next play for your teammate, covering for your teammate. To become a champion, you got to do it.
All right, Fred and AC had me riled up already looking ahead to Sunday afternoon. Austin Carr, Fred Mcleod, Tom Withers from the Associated Press. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on.
Tom's stories have me riled up. Except I haven't sat next to you in 5 years. What's going on?
They got me in the upper deck, man. Good to see you guys. I'm usually looking at the back of your heads from up top.
You should see where I sit. Yeah. I wish I could see where you sit. Listen, we haven't done this in a while. We did this back in the day, actually, when these two teams obviously met before. Yeah. I've been saying it all week, and I'm sure you have. Different story, obviously. They don't have the big three. We got more than the big three if you break down this matchup, guys.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I think matchup-wise, we definitely have the advantage. But again, they feel pretty good about themselves. But I don't think that's going to help them in the long run. And I really am a conservative person when it comes to winning the championship because I know what happened to us and how easy it can change. But I really feel really good about our personnel 1 through 12. It's solid.
Celtics are hot. They're 24-10 over the last 34, but only 6 of those came against winning teams, 2 of those against Cavs with guys resting. Not to diminish what they've done, but they caught the schedule right and you know, are a year ahead of schedule. But I think if you match up, 5-on-5, Cavs win every spot, and it's going to be tough.
You mentioned the big three before, but it's been about the little three in my mind. It's the addition of Mozgov and Smith and Shumpert has just changed the dynamic of this team, and they were the pieces that LeBron James needed. That's what he talked about. He warned us that this was going to take some time, and then once those pieces came along, it just took off.
We got a lot to talk about over the next 30 minutes. Mark Schwab is going to be joining us in just a bit. I want to start, though, with some breaking news here. LeBron has already won another award. It's not his 5th league MVP award, although that may still come. It's the Austin Carr Good Guy Award. Tom, I want you to take us through this because I want you to add the little treat that you threw into this prize.
You heard about this,
I think that made all the difference.
Well, Jason Lloyd from the Akron Beacon Journal was kind of in charge of getting the plaque this year, and as you can imagine what LeBron's trophy cases must be like at home. So Jason had said to me in the media room, this little skimpy plaque, I mean, should we, is this enough for the guy? I said, you know what, let's tape $1 onto the back and just see what LeBron says. And sure enough, he took it in good spirit and had a good time. So Jason said to him, hey, we pitched in and got you a little something extra.
Now he can buy a double cheeseburger.
There you go.
That'll work out well. Fred, you've been covering and calling games for a long, long time. You were the voice of an NBA champion in that state up north. Is this as much fun as you've had calling games? And maybe you can't answer that yet because it's not finished, and the Pistons did finish, but where does it rank?
Well, the bad boy teams, had Isaiah Thomas, iconic point guard, but they didn't have the best player in the game. LeBron James, still in my mind, is the best player in the game, and so that's the difference. And I look at this team compared to a squad that won 127 games in back-to-back years, and with all due respect to that group, there is more talent here and more pieces that fit. Now, things have to go because as we were talking before off the air, I think there are legitimately 8 teams right now, top 3 in the East, and top 6, with the exception of Portland in the West. They're banged up. But when can you ever remember 8 teams can say, you know what, we can win a championship? Yeah. So it's going to be hard for the Cavs, but I think everything is right there.
AC, I want to ask you this. I asked you actually before we came on the air, how much fun are you having?
Oh.
Do you feel like I do that when Ahmad Crump grabs that mic and he does that introduction before every game? I've been saying, I said it to Tad Carper all year, this just seems surreal to me. That he's back. I feel like I jumped in a DeLorean and went back in time.
That's a good line. I like that one.
But you can use that on Sunday. Yeah.
You're right. It does feel totally different. As a matter of fact, I haven't really embraced it completely yet because after the 4 lean years and to have him back home now, and really, he's a much different player to me. I mean, he mixes his his guile, his understanding of the game, along with his talent now. And believe me, this is a better team, man for man, than what the Miami Heat had when he won 2 championships and went to the finals 4 straight years. Man for man, it's a better team, and he knows that. And he knows at his age, he's got to have that around him. You know,
AC, you just hit it right on the nose. He's now a better player in my mind than he's ever been.
Oh, yeah.
You know, athletically, he's not the same guy. He doesn't have necessarily the same burst. He doesn't soar through the air like he once did. But he is the smartest player in the league, bar none. He thinks 2 and 3 plays ahead of everybody out there. He's got a memory like an elephant. He never forgets anything. So he knows tendencies. And now his ability going into these playoffs to just break down a team and lock in is immeasurable for this coaching staff and for some of these first-time, you know, playoff guys in Irving and Love. I'm not worried about those guys whatsoever because they got LeBron James showing them the way.
Let me ask you this, and guys, jump in if you will. Tom, you've covered him for a long time. You've covered him at the Olympics overseas. He likes and respects you. That's obvious. How different is he as a person since coming back? And he was a good person before he left. I mean, he never get into trouble. But in terms of being a leader and basically taking these guys and showing by example.
He's grown up a ton.
Grown man?
He's a grown man now. And, you know, he needed to go to Miami to learn how to be a champion. And he did that. And he had a good cast around him, and he had good support in Pat Riley down there, who kind of showed him the way. But he needed to make mistakes along the way, and he made those. And I told him that in London a couple years ago. I was like, you know what? You've grown into be a great person. You're a good man. You're a good family man. You know, when he talks about responsibility like he did last night, or when you see him down in Akron and he talks to the school kids the way he does, that's all genuine. And you guys have seen it behind the scenes and all the things he does that we don't even know about. So, yeah, he's grown up.
With all the talent on this team, it sometimes gets a little pushed to the side, the David Blatt angle. I mean, of course, he's won multiple titles, 6 Israeli Cups. People say that's not the NBA. But Schwab, he's got a track record here. He admits he's been learning. He said it after the game on Monday night. It's been a learning situation for him as well, Mark.
No, absolutely. Remember, about a year ago, this was a guy that had no idea if he would ever get a chance to coach in the National Basketball Association. And here we are now. Oh, by the way, he's got a roster full of people, and he's got a chance to win a title in the NBA Finals and all that stuff. That's not a bad 12 months, right? Got the best player on the planet in his roster, one of the best point guards in the league, slew of other outstanding players. Nothing like having 0 NBA coaching experience, but go win a championship your first year. Only in these strange circumstances could that make sense. But that has been the reality for Blatt, and this has not been easy because they were not playing well when the season started.
You know, I'm still learning, and I'm still figuring out what the NBA is all about. And I'm happy that that our team is coming into this time of the year, these playoffs, after having gone through something. You know, we didn't have a cakewalk getting to this point, and we didn't have the easiest of seasons, particularly early on. But as you all know, Friedrich Nietzsche said, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," and I think we got stronger.
19-20 start, and obviously the roster's pretty good, so you'd expect him to be better than 19-20. But Blatt's got to lead this thing, and you know, we're talking about matchups and how these two teams match up on the court, players and everything. It's all Cavaliers. A great debate might be Blatt and Stevens. Right. Because Brad Stevens, obviously, a tremendous young coach in the NBA.
He knows his way around the NCAA tournament, and now we're going to find out what he can do in the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, that's,
you know, a small measuring stick is out of timeouts when teams score, and Stevens gets a lot of praise for it. But Cavs are 6th best in terms of converting plays right out of timeouts, which goes to coaching, not only David, but the entire staff. And I'm sure since mid-January it's even better.
That's gotten better as the year's gone on.
With retool.
We are just getting warmed up. We're going to talk Kyrie Irving and looking back on how and when it all kicked into gear this season for the Cavaliers when the Sports Extra continues. Stick around.
And Big King throws the hammer down.
Throw the hammer down. Throws the hammer down.
All right, welcome back. AC, can you go 10 feet in this town without somebody throwing out one of those at you?
No, everywhere. Today I was in the grocery store, and this little kid came up next to me, and he pulled me from behind like this, and he goes, "Throw the hammer hammer down. So it's really becoming, the Cavaliers is catching on in the community now.
Hey, quick story. I tried to do a story on him and his 61-point performance, which was 40 years ago, whatever. And as I tried to interview him, and we walked through Quicken Lowe's arena, it was impossible to get a question in because everybody wanted a piece of AC.
That's good stuff.
And not to criticize this network, my wife will hit me back in the head.
She will.
But how could CBS come into town and not interview my partner when you're at the queue, Notre Dame's in the finals, and he's sitting there, and arguably the greatest player in the history of Notre Dame basketball?
Note to network. Hold on. Because, you know, Fred, I have a lot of pull.
Yeah, I know. But I just don't understand.
He was screaming at those referees in the Kentucky game.
Yeah, you're right.
I heard it.
Oh, Kyrie Irving. Yeah. All right, is there any part of Kyrie Irving that thinks, you know what, I mean, everyone says this is LeBron's team, but you know what, this is my team. I mean, he's had epic performances this season.
I don't think he wants it to. We were just talking off camera for a second. I don't think he wants it to be his team. I think he recognizes that he's the perfect sidecar to LeBron James.
Yes.
And if he just does his thing, he's going to get the ball. LeBron's going to find him. That's what all these guys are figuring out, too, is that, hey, be shot ready on the perimeter. The ball's coming, and be ready for it. So I think Kyrie is actually embracing this role as being kind of second fiddle.
Since we're on it, I got to ask you about Kevin Love. I mean, Kevin Love's still putting up great numbers, almost 17 a game, 10 boards. Do you think really, in his heart, that's enough because they're a serious contender for the title?
He wants to win championships. Who doesn't? And I looked at did kind of an intensive study of looking at Wade, Bosch, and Braun, the 7 years prior to Miami, and then the 4 years in Miami, and all their stats basically dropped double-digit percentage in terms of scoring, shots a game, free throws a game, and Kevin's numbers actually have dropped a little bit less than Wade, Bosch, and LeBron did. Kyrie's have actually gone up a little bit. So there's only one ball. AC and I talked about it. Would you take 16 and 10 out of your power forward every night? Oh, my God.
Of course you would. Of course you would. And it blew up. But what I thought was real cool in Fox Sports Ohio was that moment when he video bombed LeBron after the game. Because, you know, the people, you know, to epic proportions, and there comes Kevin Love trying to say, listen, we might not be best friends, but we're all close on this team.
I think we saw last night, though, you guys saw it at the end of the game, this is a tight group.
Oh, yeah.
This
Great
team,
moment.
this
Great
team
moment with
really
Sean
likes each other.
Right.
And when you got guys like Sean Marion, who gains a lot of respect in that locker room, Mike Miller and James Jones are the same kind of guys. Brendan Haywood, who has worked his butt off all year, as Coach Blatt talked about last night. These unsung guys who have made the other guys better. This is a good group. They've got a nice chemistry going into the playoffs.
First half of the season, why did it start so slowly?
Well, because I don't think the locker room was healthy. I mean, it just wasn't the flow. And I just think, and getting used to a new coach, a new style, you know, they got to get used to his voice, the way he delivers. I mean, everything just wasn't there. And you had guys coming from different, Kevin's coming, he's used to things. I mean, there was so many variables that pulled away from unity that you couldn't have unity. And then once the three guys came in, and all of a sudden, they realized themselves, man, we can win something here.
Well, I don't think it was a complete team yet.
Yeah.
And David Griffin knew that. And to his credit, that's why he's got to be hands down the executive of the year.
Let's talk about the second half, because then in early January they make those trades, and then in mid-January when LeBron comes back from that 8-game break, I mean, it was, you know, all speed, full speed ahead.
Yeah, well, AC's right. The locker room wasn't healthy. Neither was LeBron.
Right.
I mean, I think we saw over the first 25 to 30 games, he wasn't himself at all. He didn't have the explosiveness.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, too. I think mentally he was having a hard time because of all that went on the summer, you know, deciding to come back, coming home. There's a lot that goes into that.
You hit the nail right on the head. What the everyday fan does not understand is this. If you play what they went from the September all the way to June, 4 straight years, and they also played summer ball with the USA team, your body is not made to take that. And it's amazing how you see Wade can't hold up. Bosch, you know, unfortunately with the blood clot, but I mean, you can see you got to have some rest because you get beat up mentally. As many times as they went all the way to the finals, mentally you get beat up just as much as you do physically.
All right, you mentioned the finals. We're going to the big board to break down the bracket. Who will make it to the NBA Finals and who's going to win it? Stick around. All right, back here at the big board. Let's get to the bracket here. I think there are some no-brainers here. We're going to pick the Cavaliers to get past the Celtics. Obviously, the Bulls, you get them moving on. Any upsets in the East here, guys?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, not in the first round.
So you got Toronto taking out the Wizards.
Yep.
Let me just move this along if I can.
Atlanta, Brooklyn.
Hold on a second. All right, so. Oh, you got Toronto, I said, right?
Yeah, Toronto.
All right, so we got Toronto up here, and you're obviously Atlanta.
Atlanta.
To block the screen, but give me 1 second. Now let's get to the West. Any upsets here?
Let's go.
Golden State.
Golden State.
Okay, so
Yeah, you need Golden State for sure. That's the one that I think we can be sure of for these
Exactly.
first matchups.
I would say Memphis.
I like Memphis too.
Yeah.
you
I'll
like
go with
Memphis. See, that's the one we were talking about before we came on the air. That may
No,
surprise.
Wesley Matthews hurts it.
Right.
As good as I'm going to get.
You're
back.
doing a nice job.
Houston, Dallas.
Yeah, Houston.
I'll go with Houston.
Rockets,
with that
yeah, for sure.
one. Right.
Harden the MVP or Steph Curry or LeBron?
I say LeBron.
I think it should be LeBron.
I think Curry gets it, to be honest with you. It's a heck of a
right.
year for them, 60-plus wins.
That's the best
This is the
series.
matchup.
That's the
That's
best
the
series.
matchup right there.
You think the Clippers could knock them out, huh?
I'm going Spurs.
I'm going
Spurs.
Spurs.
All right,
But I think it's
Well, here's
Take
where it's
long.
gonna.
Yeah. I'm going Spurs. I'm not taking any chances.
Okay, here's where it gets interesting.
It does.
With Golden State, right? I mean,
probably.
no, I lost it.
That's okay.
Golden State there.
I think Memphis is going to give them all they can handle, though. I'll be honest with you. It's a very physical
really?
team, yeah. And they
It's gonna
play
go
possession by
6-7
possession,
games.
yeah.
Okay.
San Antonio, Houston is kind of a toss-up, but
Right.
Okay.
I'd say San Antonio.
So out of the West, who makes the NBA Finals?
I'll say Golden State.
Yeah,
I'm not betting against the Spurs.
Yeah.
I'll go
Yeah.
Spurs.
They put
I'll
together
tell
in
you,
the last 5 or 6 weeks.
I'm torn between those two. I hate to go against the Spurs though, but because I just think in the playoff situation, they're going to be ready for Golden State.
They played the regular season preparing. I mean, everybody criticized Popovich over the last couple of years, but you look at Tim Duncan, and suddenly, he's 29 years old
Then
again.
they turn the Jets on. Like
Yeah.
over the past 4 or
It's
5
incredible.
weeks, it was
It's
incredible.
incredible.
Okay, in the East, Cavaliers get past them. Then who gives the Cavs the most trouble in the East?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Wow, you've all said that. Now you can
Yeah.
get me nervous.
That being
All
said,
three.
I think Cavs win in 7 games.
Yeah, in Chicago. What about Atlanta?
I think the interesting thing with Atlanta, you guys, is, they've not been in a situation before where they're going to have to decide now who's our guy in the final minutes. Is it Teague with the ball? Is it Millsap? Who's taking the big shot? They haven't been through that. To me, Atlanta's a team who's going to have to go through kind of some suffering for a couple of years before they finally get to the next
That's
step.
the NBA way.
And that's the
It
NBA
is.
way.
It's always been the case, right?
All right, who comes out of these? Cavaliers?
Cavaliers.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I do. And not being a homer
No,
or
right,
anything
I
here. I
agree
just
with
think, the way they've played since the trade, since January 15th, what we've talked about, I think they're perfectly on an ascension here.
And Cavs Warriors or Cavs Spurs, your network is going to try to knock down the door of ABC to try to get that series. Because I'll tell you what.
It's spectacular. I agree. Now, would you agree they match up better with Golden State than they would with San Antonio? Not that they can't beat the Spurs.
Either or, it doesn't make any difference. When you get to that point, the matchups are going to be even regardless. They got the point guard, we got the point guard. We got the big man, they got but we got LeBron.
And it seems like you always get that one tease during the regular season, and I think we can easily say that Cavs game down in San Antonio this year was the regular season game of the year. I mean,
it was.
Irving
And we didn't
scoring
get to
50.
do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to bring that up. My bad.
All right, we're writing another memo to the network. All right. More on the Hawks. Much more to come here on a special Sports Extra when we come back. Stick around.
He's a bad man. Deep in the queue.
Deep in the queue.
Deep in the queue.
You know you've made it when you have a young Marine belting out. You're awesome, man. Fred, you've been on fire all season. It's been a pleasure, seriously,
Thanks.
listening to you. And
On
it's
this
not
team,
done yet.
you just jump on.
You didn't hesitate when I asked about the East, and all three of you, the Chicago Bulls. I mean, Derrick Rose isn't quite Derrick Rose.
Right.
And you went through new injuries.
Right.
What do you see from him that he's not the same?
His explosion is not there on a consistent basis, and I went through the same thing. He doesn't land on that leg at all. I don't care what he does. And when you're thinking that much about it, and you're in the heat of the battle, and you're going through, and you all of a sudden it pops in your leg, can't land on that leg, believe me, you miss shots, you do things you don't normally do. And some games, but the medical industry, sports medicine is so much better now. I mean, some games I felt like I was running on rocks. I was actually, you could just feel it, and if he has that feeling, some nights he's not going to get loose. That knee will never loosen up to the point where he feels like he's ready to go, and you'll be able to notice it.
We have about 20 seconds. I want to get to this graphic because when Network takes over, you're still busy on Fox Sports Ohio, pregame, postgame, and of course on your website.
Yeah, because as we know, networks go to the next game, so you come to us, we'll go in the locker room, expansive
We have
half-hour
it all.
show. And
You do have it all. 10 seconds left.
Can't be-
Schwabi, who's going to win the title?
Cavs, come on!
You think we're overdue?
Tom Withers, Fred McLeod, Austin Carr, Mark Schwab. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
it.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
see you in the playoffs.
Sounds good.
All right.
You've been watching the Bryant Stratton College Sports Extra.